end of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What is going on, everyone? Wow, what an episode. It's your boy, Ricky Vitucci here, talking all things New Amsterdam. Such a good show. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so today we are going to be speaking about so much. A reveal from Max, Dr. Bloom's new painkiller, and Dr. Reynolds. He's sticking up for his intern, Dr. Duke. So let's get into it. I know that I'm a little late. I'm sorry. I'm blaming my hair. My hair doesn't. It's a pain in the butt to do. So let's get right into it. So first, my overall thoughts about this episode is I thought it was good. I kind of was like, why is Max, why does he want to do this census and if it's even going to work, and the employees there didn't even seem like they wanted to be any part of it because it was taking up time. And then little did Max know was that time was a common consensus. So Max, being the brilliant doctor that he is, thought outside of the box and actually accidentally stumbled across this by a visitor that came in to see the bus driver, who we'll speak about later, who was misdiagnosed by Dr. Duke. He's a bus driver. So Dr. Duke, Max is like, oh my God, there's my answer. I'm going to save everyone time. So instead of them having to take public transportation, we're going to charter a private bus for all our New Amsterdam employees, which, by the way, I believe they pay for it themselves, but it cuts half the time. So they're literally saving an hour each leg to work and then from work home. So they're literally saving 2 hours a day commuting, which is by far a huge amount of time. And it actually seems to work. It actually seems that the employees are kind of happy about it. Well, they're at least intrigued, right? So yeah, let's talk about Dr. Sharpe. I want to touch on something with my friend Fromm, who plays Dr. Sharpe on the show. She has to deliver some very uncomfortable, not happy news to the Yucca group, who Max was a part of when he was going into his treatment process. She has to tell him that, unfortunately, they are not within the 5% of people that got accepted to get treatment for the precision therapy, the same therapy that Max got for his throat cancer. So she has to now deliver this awful information to this group of people who actually, kudos to them. I know that they've been through the ringer and they're having to deal with cancer and they're having to deal with chemo and they're having to deal with all of this stuff. And they're just like, that's okay. I'll just stick to this big bag of poison over here, and hopefully it'll help me cure myself of cancer. And they're in good spirits. As much it's uncomfortable for Dr. Sharpe to deliver this news, they're just kind of like, I kind of knew it was going to happen. I'm not really upset about it. It would have been cool if I was able to get to therapy, but it's not. And, the chemo is working, and they were so cool about it. And you want to know what? I gave those people in real life too. Because there are those people in real life, not just the actors, but there are those people in real life who just have been through the ringer with chemo and cancer, and a doctor's like, hey, we may be able to do this with you, and let's just see. they gave him hope, and then the hope was let down, and they just have high spirits, and they're just like, it's okay. I've been dealing with cancer for 10 plus years. It goes in remission, it comes out. It goes in remission, it comes out. You know, this becomes a part of their life, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you see it. Unfortunately, that someone has to go through this, but fortunately that they're actually there to give a story and actually help others get through these hard times. So yeah, she had to tell him, and they were cool about it. Kudos. I would not be able to, if you give me hope and the hope doesn't follow through and I'm let down, I don't know if I would have taken it as that. If it was my first shot, like if this was something new and it was my first time being diagnosed with cancer, I would have been hit. Like Mike Tyson just punched me in the face. Hit. Like it would have hit me really, really, really hard. But they are who they are, and they're very strong people. And I just want to give a shout out to all of the cancer survivors and the cancer patients currently going through chemo, sticking it out, being a badass, and seeing the positives in every aspect of life. So I just want to quickly give those people a shout out and keep fighting. Never give up. But before I move on to my next topic, I want to give you guys a quick little message. I want to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV talk. And without you wonderful people, there would be no me. I would not be able to deliver news and gossip and speak about New Amsterdam, one of my favorite shows currently on TV, if you didn't like it, if you weren't there to support us. So I just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You give me hope. Since you're watching this, please hit the subscribe button, click the like button. If you like what you're listening to and watching and you want to speak to us, to speak to me, comment below. I personally reply back to all the comments on any show that I am on. So thank you so much. And I just want to say I love you. Now let's move on. Okay, so now we are going to go on to Dr. Fromm. Dr. Fromm, he's an interesting character because he's another person that fights through everything. He's like a cancer patient, but in a doctor form. I hope that made sense. Because he always fights, no matter what news he gets told, what obstacles somebody throws at him, if it's the board, if it's the city, if it's a doctor. He always finds a way, Dr. Fromm always finds a way around it and always finds a way to shed light on it. So in this episode, Dr. Fromm has to basically teach the inmates that came to visit New Amsterdam, and there was this one particular inmate who was that kind of guy that just was giving up on just life, and he was like, I'm going to jail for life, and I committed the crime, and I'm not smart, and like all of this stuff. But yet he was the only one that read the book 1001 Aladdins, I believe that's what it was. Out of all the inmates, the smartest one. And this guy doesn't even know that he's the smartest one. He thinks he's just like everyone else. But Dr. Fromm sees something special in him. And before the inmate leaves the hospital, Dr. Fromm, being the amazing doctor that he is, calls up the prison that this inmate is staying at and requests and actually gives the prison a referral of recommendation for this inmate that he believes that this inmate should be able to teach the other inmates inside of the prison. Now, that is a big deal. Like, that is a huge deal from a third-party doctor, has not just met this guy, sees he really is smart and he is not his crime, and goes out of his way and calls up the prison to refer this inmate to be a teacher, to teach the other inmates. That is huge. Now, Dr. Fromm sees, I honestly, he's one of my favorite characters on the show because he sees the light in everyone. It's not just here. Like, he looks right into your soul. Like, right into your soul. Which I think is a beautiful thing. And I know a lot of us people need to start doing that more often. Because it'll just make this world a happier place. We need a lot of Dr. Fromms in this world. More of them. So I thought that was pretty cool. That even though the inmate threw a temper tantrum, flipped a chair, he probably scared Dr. Fromm a little bit. But Dr. Fromm clearly sees something in this man. And I found there was a beautiful moment with the inmate and Dr. Fromm. The inmate said, "No one ever called me smart until Dr. Fromm did." He did without actually saying those words. Just because Dr. Fromm put that word into the prison, saying that he believes that this inmate should be a teacher, that to the inmate said, he's calling me smart, which is a fair statement. It's a fair assessment. It's a fair way to feel. I think he's spot on, because if Dr. Fromm didn't believe that this man was smart or capable of teaching, he would have never done it. So shout out to Dr. Fromm and all the Dr. Fromms out there in this world helping people. That was such a beautiful moment. Such a beautiful moment. I just want to say one thing before I move on to this next topic. If it's anything, if you're having a bad day, no matter what's going on, and your day is just not going well, you're not happy, you're X, Y, and Z, I'm writing you a prescription. Dr. Vitucci here is writing you a prescription. I guarantee you that my prescription will get you out of this little funk. So if you're in a little funk and you're depressed or sad or down or just blah, give something to somebody with knowing that whatever you're giving is going to make them really happy or potentially change their life. And I guarantee you, when you give something to somebody, and I've done this plenty of times, it has literally taken me out of my hole. Yeah, I'm not happy-go-lucky all the time. I do get depressed here and there. I get sad here and there. I get down here and there. We're just human beings. But when I give something to somebody, and even if it's just a compliment, if you know that this compliment is really going to change their day, and even if you don't even know, you're just going to do it anyway, do it, and I promise you that your feelings will change, because we're human beings. We're put on this planet to give to others. So try that the next time and report back to me, and we'll go from there. All right, so I want to move on to the next topic. Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds is a character of mine in the beginning. I wasn't really too big of a fan of his. But in this season, I like him because he's given the youngin', the intern, Dr. Duke, he's giving him a shot. He sees in the OR room that Dr. Duke has some hand skills with the stitching, and he really shocked Dr. Reynolds. He shocked Dr. Reynolds so much that he told Dr. Duke to go help a patient in the OR. In the emergency room. So Dr. Duke proceeds, goes, helps a patient, does what he's supposed to do, but misses one huge point. He forgets to look into the patient's ear. He comes back, goes back in the OR. Dr. Reynolds is like, so, did you do the checklist? Did you look into the ear? And Dr. Duke realizes he messed up. So he kind of like pauses, is silent. Dr. Reynolds is like, what's it going to be? Like, what's the answer? And then he like, you could kind of tell like Dr. Duke wants to go back out to try to stop the patient from leaving because he discharged him too. But he lies to Dr. Reynolds and tells him that, yeah, he was all good, checked his ear, nothing, but he messed up. The patient that came inside had shingles, and shingles is a herpetic infection. There's so many herpetic infections, but this particular herpetic infection infects the skin. But it infects the skin on the body. So if it's an arm, if it's a leg, if it's your head, like if it's your chest, like the chest, and this patient in this like episode was having a shingle virus infection on his chest. And there was a procedure that he was supposed to do, that he was supposed to check inside of his ear to make sure that something wasn't swollen or inflamed, and he didn't do so. And the patient left, and then 2 hours later, the patient comes back in, gets rushed in because the patient collapsed. So now the paramedics have to rush him back in. Dr. Bloom is now taking care of him, which she was supposed to in the beginning, but then gave it off to Dr. Duke because Dr. Duke was sent by Dr. Reynolds. So now we have this patient that came back in from a misdiagnosis and a discharged. He should have never been discharged. So now Dr. Duke has to explain himself. So Dr. Duke is standing there with Dr. Bloom. Dr. Bloom is giving it to this intern. So bad. Like this, it honestly looks like he wants to cry. And then Dr. Reynolds is like, do not speak to my intern that way. If anybody's going to speak to him like that, it's going to be me. Which, it's right, but Dr. Bloom does have a point. This poor man was misdiagnosed and misdischarged. He should have never been discharged. Because when Dr. Bloom checked in his ear, they found what they thought they were going to find. So, it's when you go to see a doctor, you hope and you pray that whoever's coming to see you knows what they're doing. Like for me, I personally don't like it when I get seen by physician assistants. I just if I'm going to the doctors, I want to be seen by an actual doctor, not by a physician's assistant who's still learning and who's getting the ropes. Like I get it, they could do all of the easy things like the blood pressure and the heartbeat and the temperature and like all that stuff. But for me, this was basically a PA coming to take care of a patient who was clearly infected. So, we see Dr. Reynolds like really sticking up for this kid. And Dr. Reynolds knows that everything that Dr. Bloom is saying is true. And you almost see that Dr. Reynolds wants to say something like, you're right. But I think it's because it's Dr. Bloom. And it's because he's already had this talk with Dr. Duke saying that we have to keep this between us two. But if this happens again, you're gone. There's some compassion there. But compassion in the hospital world can only go so far. Especially a person who's trying to take care of someone. You can't really mess up. And if you do, it's like, oh man, I gave you 250 milligrams of medical grade ibuprofen where I was supposed to give you 500. Now that's not a bad mix-up. But for an infection next to the heart, where clearly this guy came into the emergency room because he was under distress, you can't mess up there. So I'm hoping that Dr. Duke really learns from this experience and really does a thorough check through, because he got blessed. Dr. Duke got blessed that this person, he didn't die, nor did he probably know that anything really crazy happened or someone misdiagnosed him. So to Dr. Duke and to all the Dr. Dukers out there, if you're going to mess up, you mess up on like the prescription, you didn't give them strong enough painkillers. That's something somebody could take like over the counter, just like anyway, right? So if you're going to mess up, I feel like that's the proper way to mess up. But yeah, it was cool to see Dr. Reynolds actually stick up for the intern, because he sees something. He's like, I saw something. What you displayed in the OR with your stitching skills and your hand skills, like that was phenomenal. Like, so he obviously knows that this guy could be potentially a great doctor and a great addition to the New Amsterdam medical staff. But you have to pay attention more. All right, on to the next topic. And for me, my favorite topic and the most eye-opening topic of all, we have Max. So throughout the last 2 episodes, Max, we've been seeing this very every time Max walks home and walks into his apartment. In the first episode, we saw his wife, Georgia, who we thought before the end of episode 1 was still alive. And then we got to see at the end of episode 1 that she did pass away and she did die in that horrible ambulance crash. And then throughout episode 2, Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Sharpe, they're trying to get Max to grieve more because they feel like he's not grieving, because he, at least in the hospital, he's not showing that he is. Then little do we know, after all the times throughout this whole episode, Dr. Kapoor is like trying to say to him, here's, when my wife died, I saved all of her recipes and I would cook all of her recipes and all this stuff. And it reminds me of my wife every time I cook. So that's Dr. Kapoor's way of grieving. So I guess he was trying to like give Max some ideas. But then little do we know, Dr. Kapoor realizes that Max is grieving, but he's grieving in his own way. And we see that at the end of this episode where Max comes home, and once he opens up that door, we see Max just smile and say hi. And then we see it all again. So Max's way of grieving is when he comes home in the privacy of his own home, and he grieves by envisioning that his wife is still alive and nothing really has changed. And, I can't imagine how that feels. I mean, I know how it feels to lose somebody really close, because I lost my father and my grandparents and my uncle. And, I've lost a lot of people, but as a kid. But I can't imagine losing someone as an actual, adult. And, someone like my wife after she just gave birth to our kid. And, that would just... I honestly, I hope I never have to feel that way or know what that way is like. Because having to now have to take care of a baby, now this baby does not have her mom anymore, is kind of, it's tough. It's sad. But on the bright side of things, I'm happy to see that Max is dealing with his grievance, his loss of his wife. And he has every right to grieve the way he grieves. If coming home after at least a 12-hour day in the hospital helping hundreds of patients is pretending that she's still there and she's still alive, if that's your way to grieve, then that's his way. But I'm happy to see that Max is grieving and that Max has found a way to be at peace with the death of his wife. So that is a beautiful thing. I hope at some point the grievance kind of suppresses a bit, because I feel like a grievance should only be for a certain amount of time until then it becomes unhealthy. So let's see how long Max grieves for. All right. So those were all my topics, my top 4 picks of this episode. But before we go on to my special segment, let's talk about some news.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So, Max has finally come clean. We all obviously know that his wife is dead and he grieves in his own way. So now, we think that you should all be a little bit concerned about Max. So here it says, the kicker came at the very end of the episode when Max arrived home with Luna adorably strapped to his chest and smiled to see Georgia waiting for them, happy to see her husband and baby daughter again. Max, he lit up a smile, and he actually shared a few words with his wife, seeming ready to spend the rest of the night with his happy family. Now, that is not healthy, because I'm going to tell you why. Now, I'm all for almost anything that puts a smile back onto Max's face after his loss of his wife last week. But jumping from not allowing himself to grieve to imagining his wife alive, well and ready to interact with him and daughter is a bit too troubling for my taste. There's no way Max can sustain this fantasy in the long run, and prolonging the inevitability could be worse for Max and, by extension, of Luna. I agree with that 100%. Just like I said before, this way of grieving for him is only good for a small amount of time, because after a long period of time, I believe it's like 37 days. If you continually do something for 37 days and it's the same thing every single day, it becomes a habit. So now Max could potentially trick himself and trick Luna. Let's all see, Luna is a baby, but these beginning years are very crucial times for her life. So you don't want Luna to think that her mom is still alive and she's really not. So I feel like Max has to be very careful and tread very lightly on the way he is grieving, because it could be a pretty dark hole to come back out of, and a pretty deep one too. So I would, Max, if you're watching this, be very careful. Cool. So now let's go on to my special segment. So I would like to speak about, in a holistic way, because I know in this episode, the bus driver patient, got diagnosed with the shingles virus, which is a herpetic virus. So I want you all to know that there is a holistic way to cure yourself of a herpetic virus. Now, that could be a herpes 1 or 2. It could be shingles. It could be psoriasis. It could be whatever. It could even be Epstein-Barr. But there are special ways to heal yourself, and I'm going to tell you. And it's simply by food and supplementation. So let me read this off to you right now. Okay, so if you want to heal from any herpetic virus, specifically the shingles virus, because I want to speak about that because that was a topic in this friggin' episode. A way to heal is by foods, right? So some foods to eat is wild blueberries, coconuts, papayas, red-skinned apples, pears, artichokes, bananas, sweet potatoes, spinach, asparagus, lettuce, or any leafy and deep green beans, and avocados. So these foods help because they contain powerful phytochemicals that can attack the different strains of the virus. This supports recovery from the neurotoxin flare-ups, boosts the immune system, heals nerves, soothes inflamed skin, and helps to detoxify the body. So there's a way for everything. So for whoever is watching, I'm not bashing anyone. Your method is your method. But the point of this special segment for me is very dear to my heart because I have had a few friends who have had some form of a herpetic virus and have healed and have not had any outbreaks or whatever the case may be and have gone tested and have now tested negative. So I just want everyone to know out there that no matter what it is, if it's the shingles virus or if it's a cold sore or if it's a depression or if it's anxiety or whatever the case may be, know that foods and proper herbal and vitamin supplementation will help you heal with, of course, a positive mindset. So with that being said, I want to go out with a bang, and I want to just say that no matter what it is that you are dealing with, know that your body is a powerful machine. And just because science and research has not discovered anything as of yet, because they haven't found a drug, that does not mean that your body cannot fight it off. So if you want to relieve the symptoms, I'm going to refer two people that I follow. One is Dr. Robert Morse, and two, Medical Medium. Go search for those two people if you are having to deal with any sort of symptom. I promise you, they will guide you, and they have so much information on the web that you will be mind blown at the things that these people are helping heal. It's amazing. So I love you. I'm going to sign out. It's late here. I had a blast, though. I hope you had a blast. And I hope to see you back again. But before I leave, you could find me on all social media platforms at Ricky Vitucci. Again, my new Amsterdammers, it has been a pleasure. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next week.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.